Hello everyone, Colin Canet here. Today I'm going to build a jig that will allow me to make featherboards with nice, even, bendable fingers. And if you enjoy woodworking and you want to learn more, I invite you to subscribe and click the notification bell because I got lots of videos coming. Let's go ahead and get started making this little jig. I never seem to be able to make good quality feather boards that bend nicely. So I thought the best thing to do is to build a jig that does that. And I used the concept of the Lynn Sabin box joint jig, and I'll put a link for that up there so you'll be able to go and see that. And this is my prototype, and it worked okay, but what it taught me was what I really need to do to build a jig. So let's get on with that. So the principle is the same as what I had last time. This time I'm using a much bigger base because I realized I need that. My supports now are much smaller than on the prototype. I'm going to make a deck like this, and the deck will move back and forth in here, and it will use the same ready rod, but instead of it being high, it's going to be low. So I'm going to run the ready rod through all of this so that it's down much lower. And in this, I'm going to put some bolts that will come up that I can use wing nuts to fasten down my material that I want to make. I'm going to use these T-nuts, and the first thing I need to do is to drill some holes all the way through this. And because I don't have a drill bit long enough to drill all the way through this, I've cut these boards in half, and I'll drill through each side. Then I'm going to glue them together, and I'll use my doweling jig to align them so that they line up perfectly. There, I just need to drill the holes now. I've set up a temporary fence, and I've aligned it. I'll drill both of those holes using the same process. The next thing I need to do now that this is all glued up is to determine where these holes are. So here's my ready bar, and I need to figure out where this is going to sit. And I think I'm going to bring it back a little bit. I put a starter hole in there with my awl, and I'll just put the two pieces together, and I can drill them both at the same time, and that way they're exactly the same. Off camera, I just took a moment to put in some countersink holes and mark where all of them go. And what I'm going to do now is just put a little bit of glue on there, and we'll glue them, and we'll use some number 6 screws, and that'll be a quick way of attaching that. Next, I just cut a piece of plywood. This is just a piece of scrap. I'm going to use this as a template. Remember I said I wanted to put 2 bolts up through here, and because those bolts are going to clamp down every piece of wood that I want to make a featherboard from, I need a template so that I can, with each one, I can drill holes through it. So what I'm going to do now is this is going to be my template. So what I'll do is I'll take and drill 2 holes through here, and that will match up with the holes that I drill through this that I can put the bolts through. I used a Forstner bit to countersink the holes for the bolts. Now I'm going to drill the holes, and you notice that I have the template underneath. This next part is a little bit tricky. You can see that I have the ready rod in, and I've done that because I've got the T-nut here. And what I need to do now, and that's why we're using 1-inch thick wood here, is what I need to do now is to make sure that ready rod is below the surface here, and I'm going to drive this in, and the ready rod will help make sure that that T-nut stays, it doesn't wander and go adrift. Now what I need to do is get some very small little screws and put them in there to stop that not only from coming out, but to stop it from spinning. And there's a close-up of that T-nut, and I found a couple of little screws that I can put in there. I'm just going to make a starter hole, and we'll put those in there. Now on the other side, I also need to put a T-nut in, but in this case, I've filed the tangs. You can see I filed the tangs off. So, and the reason for that is I want to be able to screw that right on tight with the wood. Now I should be able to screw that T-nut all the way in there and screw it right flush with that wood. And then I'm going to put a couple more, and you can see that I think you can see anyway, that ready bar still is turning, and I'm going to loosen that a little bit. There, it spins quite freely. Now what I need to do here is put 2 more screws in, and that will hold it from both sides then. I'm making some good progress. I made a little crank for the ready rod, and just a dowel with some flat bar and a screw through the end. It should work just fine. Now the next thing I need to do, and I've cut my ready bar to length, what I need to do now is to thread it through this, and this will be a little bit tedious, so I won't make you sit through it, but I need to rethread it through here and then back through here. Well, you can see that I installed the T-slot material, but I also put a support board in here. All we need to do now is cut a blank and cut our first featherboard. Everything's all set up, and we're going to learn to do this thing together, because you can see I've never made a cut on this yet. So this is a first time, but I'll tell you, I'm a little afraid that this ready bar is not strong enough. I only use 1/4 inch, so we're going to try it, but I may have to end up changing that ready bar. And I've got to stop down here, so I'm going to turn the bandsaw on, and I'm just going to run through and see what happens. Wow, look at that. It worked. I missed one, as you saw in the video, because I had to adjust. I had to take out the throat plate on the bandsaw. I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, it's still working great. Nice thin fingers. They bend easily. Now all I need to do is attach that to my table saw or my router, and now I can make as many featherboards as I want. What a great little jig. And don't forget, the plans for this will be in the article on Woodwork Web. I'm Colin Cadet for Woodwork Web. Don't forget to keep on watching. Lots more videos coming.